Cloud is obviously quite big. There are a lot of cloud PMSs available, but there has been some resistance in hotels to move towards the cloud. Should we be using or be sort of heading that way? And what are the pros and cons of cloud versus on-premise?
Well, I certainly think where possible, a move to cloud is certainly a much better option for hotels. I mean, not to say that an on-premise solution isn't without its merits, particularly say in areas, I guess this could be one of the cons of a cloud solution is that it does rely on your internet connection and having strong reliable connection. Now we know that with Australia being a vast land, that we have quite a lot of areas where it's remote and also potentially some signal strength issues. So for those areas that are quite remote, you might have those issues. I know of some properties where they do struggle to get that connection. They have it on premise, and that's the way to go for them. But if you can, we would certainly suggest the cloud, just because I think probably the first and foremost pro that comes from that is you don't have to worry about the ongoing costs and maintenance of old school servers. I mean, that was fantastic 15, 20 years ago, but we're seeing how quickly technology is evolving. You know, in the past, you could have a computer or a server that would be good for 5 to 10 years, but with things like, you know, memory capabilities that you need for running programs, the speed of processors and hard drives and changing hard drives from the old magnetic hard drive to an SSD, it's costing a lot of money for hotels to then go through every 2 or 3 years and replace these servers. So one, you've got to buy the new server. It might have to change because your operating system's end of life. You then need to bring on your IT or a external party to set up. You need to bring on all your vendors to reinstall their program. So it becomes a lot of time and money involved in that. With a cloud solution, you don't need to worry about it. All you need to do is have your connection to your enterprise server that is provided by your vendor. So that means that the responsibility is then on them to maintain the server, which is usually done through their hosting provider. And I think the other thing that comes with that cloud model as well is the great flexibility and versatility that it provides, particularly nowadays that we're looking at a lot more mobility, whether it's shifting from the old terminals that are fixed to a desk to looking to using devices. We're obviously becoming a lot more mobile now with phones, tablets, and so on. But also, I think in the last couple of years, as we've seen that shift towards the working from home concept, as we've all adapted to life with the pandemic. So here in Australia in particular, we do have a lot of clustered setups with hotels where you'll have a group of 3 or 4 that might have a cluster manager, a regional manager, etc. So particularly for those cluster managers who might not be based on site, having a cloud setup will allow them to be able to log into a PMS from anywhere you like. You don't necessarily have to be on site to access that PMS. I could be here at home today as a regional manager, or I could be a GM even that might be off because I'm unwell or I've got an appointment or something like that. And I can still have that capability from home to be able to log in and see what's going on. So I think when you're looking at something like that, the benefits for a cloud system far outweigh the cons. And I certainly think that, in the past, it might have been some security concerns, etc., because you don't have things on site. But I think in this day and age, you've got a lot of layers of security that make that safe. And in the end, the mobility and flexibility it's going to provide your business is, as well as the huge cost savings, is going to be a huge long-term benefit.
Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose 2 things come to mind. First is I've seen a lot of hotels over the years on an on-premise solution, in a sense, get stuck on a version. They're limited by, as you said, the hardware, and they're probably on an end-of-life version that the vendor doesn't support. So cloud eliminates that because, as you said, there's no hardware involved. The other thing I think you mentioned, obviously, with security and backups, probably giving that responsibility to somebody like Microsoft, Azure, or Amazon, who are more skilled in that area, is a good thing. I worked night out for many years, and I know there were some times where we couldn't get backups to work or whatever, and it's critical, having access to that data and having somebody as a third party being responsible for that, ensuring that happens, I think is often a good thing, right?
Absolutely. I think that first question and point you raised is also another pertinent one as well, with regards to upgrades of technology. If you've got an on-premise solution, you basically install that version that you've got, and unless you go and seek out your vendor and have them come in, again, at a cost with their technicians to be able to come on site, you're not going to have any upgrades. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a major upgrade. It could just be a simple patch that enables a few extra capabilities, potentially fixes some bugs. I guess the best comparison you've got with something like that is for those of us with our devices, say your iOS or your Android operating systems, how often, and your apps, how often we get the updates for something like this. And, you could have anywhere in a new little patch or version, anywhere from 20 to 40 up to 100 little hot fixes or patch upgrades, etc. That with an on-premise solution, as I said, you need someone to come on site to do it. Whereas with a hosted solution, the vendor is going to upload that to their enterprise server. And so straight away, they're going to be there for you. And all you potentially have to do is just if you know the capability is already there on the enterprise server, it might not have been just configured to your version yet because you haven't had that upgrade done. All you then need to do is just put a support ticket. They'll be able to dial in for you, have that all set up, and before you know it, you've got those features there. And yeah, from a security perspective, the likes of Microsoft and Amazon, as you say, this is something that they immerse themselves in. They have large departments that are dedicated to that security. So you know that having them have that responsibility, it's going to be a fairly robust and very good. And they're going to be able to evolve and update those security as needed. And for your backups, I think back to my days of working in hotels with on-premise solutions, similar to yourself, and having the old big chunky external hard drives where every now and then you'd have to plug one in and run your backup, and then if you needed to get some of that information, you bring it out, and then what happens if something's happened and all of a sudden that's corrupted, or you're going back to something as simple as someone hasn't done the eject USB correctly, and you've potentially got years worth of data that's now inaccessible from that hard drive. So again, having that cloud solution and with a cloud backup to go with that, again, you've got the ability to access that anywhere, anytime, and it's in a nice, safe, secure position where you know that data is going to be very safe, and you're going to be able to have that capability wherever you are, whenever you need it, to be able to access it and not have to dig around and spend time and money purchasing old hard drives and having them stored around somewhere and hope that they stay safe.
Good point. Yeah, very good point.